everyone, wherever it is you're listening from. This is Follow the Money, brought to you by Nairametrics. My name is Ugodre, and we do this every Monday, 8 to 8:30 on the station. Of course, you can always stream previous episodes on any podcast platform that you use, whether it's Spotify, Google Podcast, or Apple Podcast. Don't miss it. Just go back to the previous editions and you won't miss. Of course, this is a program about the stock market and markets in general. So we're going to be discussing key events that happened last week in the market. And of course, we're going to be having a guest today in the second segment of the show. So you want to stay tuned and listen to comments from our guests. We're going to be dissecting some companies, some of the major events that happened. We're going to be looking at MRS, we're going to be looking at Seplat, we're going to be looking at Airtel as well, and then we'll look at NEM Insurance, a few insurance companies out there, and what they did over the last few months. And of course, we will discuss that nitty issue of Okunu Oil and the militants. And so you don't want to miss this. And finally, I'm going to be giving you stocks on my radar. I'm not sure you want to miss that. It's going to be coming towards the end of the segment. You're going to be hearing the stocks on Ugodre's radar. I do have some stocks on my radar that I'm going to be sharing. I'm not here alone. I have Uade here with me. What's up, man? How are you? Fine. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Ugo. Good morning, Kola. Great to be here again. Sorry I missed out last week. No problem. This is a joy for us over the weekend. For us Arsenal fans, don't worry. We're always going to win this league eventually. When they deduct those points, you know it's going to happen. It will happen. They will deduct it. We're going to win it. So, just be patient. You know, if you don't win it on the field, you win it in the boardroom. That's how it's done. You know, that's always been we'll gun them down. We use the technicalities to win it this time. Alright, guys. So we go straight into last week. So the NGX All-Share Index depreciated by 0.11%, and market capitalization also depreciated by 0.1% to close at 98,000 points. I think this was like the lowest or so since January. At some point during the week, it was almost like it was a sell-off, but stocks kind of clawed back, but still ended the week lower than before. Market capitalization of Nigerian Stock Exchange is still 55 trillion. Why do we always talk about market capitalization? I mean, like in most stock markets, the market capitalization is basically the market value of all the equities on your exchange. And most countries, they tend to compare that to their GDP. So Nigeria's GDP is roughly 225 trillion or thereabout in Naira. And if the market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 55 trillion, if you divide that by 225, that kind of gives you like 25%. So the stock market is about 25% of our GDP. Now, if you compare it to most advanced countries, their stock market is actually bigger than their GDP. Right? So that gives you an idea of the growth potential we have in the stock market. If you have a lot of companies listed on the stock market, then you would have a huge market capitalization. The bigger your market capitalization, the better it is for the economy. The more money the economy can create, the more capital formation can happen with the economy, the more business people can make, the more money people can make in general. So it's been a great leap because it wasn't 55 trillion, it was roughly under 30 trillion for years. So we're here now, and that's why we tend to report these numbers a lot. Anyway, so going into the major indexes, what are you going to taking us through the top gainers and losers at some point? But let's just look at the major indexes. The All-Share Index, which is the broader measure of how stocks are performing, still up 31%. On this show a few months ago, we were saying it was up 39%. It was like, on steroids. It was a tunnel, like we always say on Nairametrics. It was like a tunnel, but the tunnel seems to be like turning to tunnel beer, so, but it's still up at 31%. This quarter has been bad for stocks. Stocks are down 6%. This month, it's down 0.1%. There's a saying they always, there's this saying for most stock market investors. They tend to say, go away in May, buy in April, go away in May or something. Or just go away in May, like, take off in May, because May is usually when you have a lot of sell-offs for stocks. Not sure if that's going to pan out this time because it's still flat at 0.1%. But week to date, like I mentioned earlier, 0.11% as well. So stocks are struggling a lot, and you can always see it from the breakdown as well. The NGX 30 index, which is the index for the most capitalized stocks, also fell off last week just by 0.03 percent. Sorry, 0.11%. So kind of mirrors the broader index itself. But the banking all-share index, the banking index, which I think has been the major driver of the sell-offs we've been seeing, is down 5.3%. When we kind of discussed this the last time, that since the CBN came up with that recapitalization, program or plans, people have just been dumping banking stocks. So last week I think it's because of all the right issues that's about to happen. So it kind of makes sense for shareholders to want their share prices to be down in a way so that they can scoop up those right issues. I don't know whether you share that sentiment.
I do, because at the end of the day, you need that money for the rights issue. A lot of them are going to be doing rights issues. Most of them have asked to do rights issues. So where do you want to get that funding? Something we also thought about is the dividends are going to be paid. Are you now going to just collect it and put it back into the rights issues? So those are things that we need to start looking at, and we'll see how those investors are looking at them at the end of the day.
Yeah, so you want to be careful with bank stocks for now. So quickly check your portfolio of bank stocks and see how well they're doing. Also presents an opportunity. Imagine bank stocks that we're trading at 30-something naira. Some of them are now trading at like 20 or so. I think Access at some point fell below 17 naira last week. Pretty cheap for that stock. First Bank also kind of dropped to about 22 or 23 naira. So at some point it was trading way above 30. UBA as well. So the number of stocks, banking stocks out there, they are pretty cheap. Conventional. I don't even got a conventional wisdom. I kind of think that there might still be some bearish moments out there, but let's just see how it goes. So be careful there about the opportunities as well. The NGX pension index did also drop. That's where most pension funds, the kind of stocks pension funds invest in, that dropped 1.69%. This quarter is down 10.9%. And then this year down 8.56%. What are pension funds doing? Like, how is the pension fund index trailing the all-share index? Is there something wrong with their portfolio allocation? It's year to date we're at 31% for the broader index, and then the pension index, which is meant to be like the best stocks that are handpicked by pension fund administrators, is down by what's that figure again? Is down by is up by 8% rather. So compared to the broader index now, what's the reason for that?
I think the pension fund companies are just being careful and just trying to manage through this economic times. Last week there was all the rumor of the federal government wants to take money from our pensions, but at the end of the day, other areas where they can invest to actually increase those returns. Those are things that they need to start looking at, aside from usually the short-term investments that they do in money markets and stocks that what's it called, more or less confirmed as good stocks. That's where they make their returns. But are they putting that much investment in it? And you can see the prices of things like stocks in the banks going down. So I guess those are some of the things that are actually affecting them.
All right. So pension fund index, like I did mention, includes some of the most capitalized stocks on the exchange. So like 40 of them. I guess maybe one of these days on this show, I'm going to read out those stocks so that you can see most of them and how they're performing. All right, so we move on to top gainers and losers this week or last week. So maybe why do you want to take us through that?
So top 10 gainers, International Energy Plc. You said something about the insurance industry, which we'll talk about in the second segment. Gained 11.49%. Minicos Plc 9.89%. Custodian Investment 9.68% increase. Julius Berger from 72.40 to 79.30, 9.53%. Airtel 8.97% gain. Airtel has actually gone beyond 2,000 naira now. Tantalizers 8.70% gain. Ella Lakes PLC 8.20%. Sovereign Trust Insurance. There seem to be like 4 or 5 insurance companies in the top gainers last week. Africa 6.06, Mutual Benefits Assurance PLC 5.45. Among the decliners, PZ Cousins 22.16% drop, Name Insurance 18.36, Etana PLC 18.32%. UBA, United Bank for Africa PLC 17.23% depreciation, the Initiates PLC 15.22, Omatech Ventures PLC 14.86, Unity Bank PLC 12.57, FCMB Group PLC 11.39, Dangote Sugar Refineries 11.11, and FTN Cocoa Processors PLC 11.11% decline.
All right, so if you have any of the stocks, you might want to check your portfolio and see which one gained and which one lost. These are just the top 10 gainers and decliners. Just a little bit there about number of stocks here that caught my attention. Custodian up 10%. Important to see what's going on in there. They did push out some numbers last week as well. Julius Berger also caught my attention, up 10%. Interesting to see what happens this week. Airtel as well, they did push out their results last week. You want to watch out for Nairametrics interview with the Airtel COO last week. It's currently on Nairametrics YouTube channel. You might want to check it. He did drop some important info there. But the share price is up 9%, across 2,000 naira. They're also paying dividend as well. So that's one stock you might want to look at. And Tantalizers, I think I kind of touched on this last week. They didn't raise capital, 1 billion, and so maybe investors think there's some kind of opportunity there, and so that also was up 8%, like what he mentioned. And on the declining side, is PZ Cousins down 22%, quite a significant number as well. And of course, a few banks here and there that he did mention. Now, we move on to price adjusters. That's companies that have already declared dividends for the year. So if you have these companies, you might want to check them out. Abbey Mortgage is paying dividend. They have already adjusted for 4 kobo. Nigerian Aviation Handling Company, NACO, I'm sure you see them at the airport. They've also adjusted for 2 naira 54 kobo. Fun fact, NACO is currently trading at 34 naira. There was a time it was on the Stock Select newsletter, which we're going to bring back pretty soon. And then I think we kind of recommended this stock about 6 naira or 7 naira at that time. Yeah. It's just incredible. It's 34 naira now. Wow. They're paying dividend, 2 naira 54 kobo. UBA also paying dividends. I guess that's why they had that adjustment. By the way, UBA is 75 years old. I think they're having some celebration today. So you might want to check that out. They did price adjustments as well. So if you have UBA shares, you should have gotten your dividend a lot today. So you might want to check that. Champion Breweries, no dividend. They just did 1-for-7 bonus issues. SCMB also paid dividends, 50 kobo. So if you have that stock, you might want to check for your dividend. And then Presco paid the highest in terms of quantum dividend of all the 6 that we have here, 24 naira. Of course, the stock is going for 294 naira 50 kobo. So I don't cheap stock at all.
If I had a million units of that stock,
that's like 24 million. But if you had a million units, that means what, like 291 million naira or thereabouts. So, yeah. But they're paying 24 naira 30 kobo. So if you had Presco, I kind of think I remember I bought Okumu Oil at some point. I don't know if I still have that stock in my portfolio. At about 30, 35, 36 naira or so several years ago. Okumu Oil is also one that is within this price range as well. That's been on for a long time. All right, so that's it on our review for stocks last week. So if there are any stocks here that caught your attention or any stocks that you want me to sort of delve into on any of this podcast, let me know. Just send me or tweet at me at Ugodre on any Twitter platform or any social media platform out there, or at Nairametrics, and I will go into that stock in detail for you on this show. We're going to take a short break, and when we're back, we're going to be introducing our guest, and I'm going to be speaking to him about some stocks on my watch list.
Follow the Money with Ugodre. We'll be right back.
tuning in. This is Follow the Money, brought to you by Nairametrics. On this show, we discuss the capital markets in general, and I'm here with Uade as well. We also have a special guest, and he is Paul Uzum. Paul is the Vice President of Planet Capital Limited. They are a capital market operator, and he also has skin in the game. We like to have people who have skin in the game so that they can come here and discuss capital markets. Paul, how are you doing? You're joining virtually.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. So before we fly into stocks, let's just speak a little bit about some macros. Inflation numbers were out last week, and as we can see, it's as if we're always on a new 24-year high. MPC meets tomorrow, to deliberate on MPR, whether they're going to raise it or not. So what's your take? Are you expecting a raise for them to increase the MPR? If yes, what sort of numbers are you looking at?
Okay. Well, I'll start by correcting my profile. My name is Paul Uzum. I am currently with Edo Nigeria. We are a fund manager in the Nigerian capital markets.
Apologies for that.
Planet Capital, January this year. So, regards to the question you asked, the MPC meeting is expected today. If you look at the trends in the last couple of MPC meetings, we've seen that the core focus of monetary policy in recent times has been to address the rising inflation level and instability in exchange rates. So I think that the focus of this MPC meeting will tend to address those two issues: inflation, exchange rates. Then we've seen a rise in monetary policy rates in the last two MPC meetings. The last one, monetary policy rates was increased by 24.75. So I will not be surprised to see that there may be a further rate increase due to the fact that the previous rate increase have not sufficiently addressed inflation rates. They have not addressed inflation level. So I will not be surprised to see maybe other tightening, macroeconomic policy tightening coming from the central bank between today and tomorrow.
Put your hat in the ring. What are you looking at? 50 basis points, 100 basis points?
I will just say, at best, maybe 200 basis points.
That is pessimistic, man.
At best, 200 basis points.
At best, okay. Worst. Anyway, whichever half a glass half empty, half full.
Stay the same.
Alright, so to our listeners, in case you're wondering what he's basically saying is that, the MPR might go up by 2%, and when that goes up by 2%, the interest rate on your loans also likely goes up by 2%, right? So that's what this means, and so let's see how it goes. MPC meets this week, and we're going to be seeing those numbers out pretty soon. Of course, follow Nairametrics for breaking news on that. So we go right into stock. So MRS last week, MRS was in the news, and they came out saying that they were going to pay their shareholders 135 naira per share. I think that it appears maybe this was in response to dissenting shareholders. MRS are delisting for our listeners. I think we did report it here some weeks ago. Paul, you want to take us through that? What is driving MRS decision to pay 135 naira? And also, what's your view about them delisting anyways?
Okay. The first question I would try to address: why would MRS be delisting from the market? For companies, when they feel that they're already benefiting so much from being listed, why do companies want to get listed? They want to raise money. If they want to raise money, they should have capacity to raise money, and they feel that they don't have that capacity to raise money from the market, given their pedigree, not paying good dividends over the years. Right now, they are in a very advantage position to they are fortune. They have a change of fortune for the company. It is going to be one of the major drivers of sale of refined
from Dangote Refinery.
Diesel from Dangote Refinery when it commences operation. So because of that, I think maybe the directors and owners of MRS don't want to share the change status of the company with minority shareholders. They feel that they will better off if they are listed. However, the price they are offering minority investors is decent. 135 naira per share is the highest price we've ever seen MRS trades in a decade. We've never seen MRS at that level. I think so you say when say again, minority shareholders can take their investment off and invest in other stocks which are also doing equally well in the market. So it's a win. It's not a bad deal. It's something that I think all minority shareholders would approve.
All right, interesting point there. Just for context, a year ago, MRS was trading below, I think just around 55 naira per share or so. Just to give you some context there from Paul. So, and they're paying their shareholders 135. Sad to see them delist. I think you make a very solid point there. They're delisting at a time when their fortunes seem to be going in. Minority shareholders who probably have waited for years don't get this. And 135 naira per share today, Paul, is not the same thing as 55 naira per share last year. I mean, in dollar terms, is it? Not the same. So,
but you know why I say made that statement. We've seen several delisting taking place in the market.
Correct.
That were really nasty, and it was fights between minority investors and majority shareholders. I think the regulators will tell you that the minorities will have their say, the majority will have their will. And so, given the price, we are seeing MRS delisting. This is the best we've seen in the past 10 years. We're not saying that's the highest trading price of MRS in the last 10 years. If the company is saying wants to work to be at that price and everybody to get to leave the company, yeah, it's fine and good. The company is not even. I think what they plan to do is to migrate from the Nigerian Stock Exchange to the NESD market, OTC market.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to decide not to
cannot stay on NESD.
They can go to NESD. Well, however, I think I would advise investors that it's better off if you walk away.
Okay, Paul, thank you for those insights. Let's look at Seplat now. Seplat Energy PLC shareholders approved 15 cents per share as recommended by the company's board. So what is your take on their financials, despite the fact that there was a 17% decline in average price of Brent crude? The company grew its oil and gas revenues by 11.5%.
Yeah, just to add to that, out of time, so let's just do this quickly. Paul, Seplat is paying dividend of 15 cents per share, which is good for investors. Tell me, does this also in a way improve the share price of Seplat? Because we've seen patterns where when these companies are paying dividends in dollars, their share price fortunes tend to be positive. Is there something behind it that maybe we don't know?
In our markets, dividends that is paid by companies has a long way in determining share price. It is the most significant factor in determining share price. However, in the case of Seplat, because of the massive devaluation of Naira over the last 1 year, these 15 cents they are paying has become significant. If you multiply that by the current exchange rates, prevailing exchange rates of 1,500, that's almost like 225 Naira per share. That's the highest dividend paid by any listed company in the market today.
In terms of dividend per share.
In Naira terms. So even if the price of food had dipped a little bit year on year, because of the devaluation of Naira and their reporting currencies in Naira, the company is doing exceedingly well. Yeah, it's supposed to be an edge, a good edge against devaluation in Naira for investors who have lost value due to the devaluation in Naira. And Seplat happens to be one of those stocks that has hedged against losses in value in rate terms due to the devaluation in Naira. So this dividend they are paying, if you look at it, you see that it amounts to almost like a 7.5% dividend yield.
Yeah.
For our market, I said earlier on, dividend is the core driver of valuation. So typically, the yield for dividends ranges between 5%, worst case scenario, to 10% for the banks. The banks are at roughly around 10-11% ahead. Then any company that is doing as high as 7.5% for a non-bank is doing pretty well.
Correct. sorry to interject.
The main factor for Seplat is the devaluation in naira.
Correct. And to think that they're also paying it in dollars, that gives it even a different ring to it. So let's move quickly.
They typically convert. They
convert. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the point is that the dividend is in dollars, but converted at an exchange rate in naira. Yes. For investors. So when you look at the yield, you have to look at it from that perspective too. We quickly move on. We have like 2 minutes, so let's move quickly. We'll go to Airtel. Airtel numbers were out last week. I don't know if you've seen it, Paul. They did suffer the same kind of challenges that the likes of MTN did suffer with FX. Depreciation. But what are the positives you take from Airtel's numbers and negatives, if any, quickly?
Yeah, it's not surprising. It's in line with the trend for many there's many companies in Nigeria, listed companies, for maintenance, for manufacturing companies, consumer goods. We have several companies that are recording huge FX losses. Which has really most of their depositors, their shareholders' funds. But that notwithstanding, for Airtel, I think Airtel has dual listing. It's listed both in Nigeria and listed in London. So you have investors who are playing around both markets. They try to do arbitrage by sometimes if they feel that Nigerian market is quite the price in the Nigerian market is lower than London, they can buy in Nigeria and sell in London and make some edge. Interestingly, the company is doing share buyback in the London stock market. I checked when you check the price of Airtel in London stock market. I think it was doing, as the last trading day on Friday, it was doing 119.5 pence. So if you convert that, it was a little bit, just before the price movement in Nigeria, it was a little bit higher in London than Nigeria. So it's offered, there was room for arbitrage for investors to buy in Nigeria and sell over there. So that's why you saw that transaction taking place. Now, if you use the current exchange rate between naira and the pounds, so that's what that's what driving activity in Airtel. Despite the fact that the company is not doing well right now, we think that this short term, that within 1 or 2 years, most of these companies that are recording huge FS loss would have cleansed their book, would have reverted to profitability.
All right, good point. So we'll move on quickly. Okumo Oil, we did see the news last week about militants demanding for 25% of their shares. I hope this is not meant to be a sign of many issues to come, Paul. Quickly, 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's a sad one for the market. We don't expect to see this kind of thing because from kidnapping of individuals, now we're not seeing companies being at one stage. One reason, core reasons why you have elevated inflation rates, which is rising food inflation, is because many farmers cannot go to the farms to do their regular farming activities. And now that is affecting Congo, it's going to be a very, very bad one for the country and for our markets.
Exactly.
We have several companies that operate like Okumo. We have Presco, we have Taylor Lakes. If this is not tamed, it would spread to other companies that are in that sector, and many companies that operate in the Nigerian environment.
All right. Thanks for that, Paul. We've had Paul Uzum, financial market analyst, on the show. Thank you so much, Paul, for being on this show. Stocks on my radar, by the way, listeners. Quickly, like I mentioned, FBNH on my radar. That is the owners of First Bank. Airtel on my radar. You want to check out that stock. Seplat also on my radar, and of course, Dangote Cement. The share price has been dropping for a bit now. That stock is squarely on my radar. We did get a message as well. A message from Patrick. Patrick says that he's expecting a 300 basis point increase. Patrick! But what do you say? I say 100 basis point. I think it's likely going to be between 50 and 100 basis point. And we'll do this again next week. Of course, this has been Follow the Money, brought to you by Nairametrics. Do have a profitable week ahead. And thanks again, Paul, for being on the show. Goodbye, everyone.